morning. Welcome back to Speedrun Ragnarok. It is time for Loom. Yes, Loom. It is an actual game. It is not just a joke in Monkey Island. And we are so happy to run it. I am SchalaKitty, and with me is LoremasterMotoss. And before we get started on this game, do you want to very quickly go over the story of this race? Because it's pretty funny.
Oh, sure. I think we should.
So, very quick story about this race in particular. I got to meet Motoss in person at RPG Limit Break earlier this year, and we were just sort of in the practice room, you know, just talking and everything. And I asked, like, "Oh, what kind of games do you like to run?" He's like, "Oh, I run Loom." I was like, "Really? You run Loom?" Because I'd played that game casually a few years back, and on the recommendation of my girlfriend, I really enjoyed it. I'm like, I never thought of speedrunning it. And then, Motoss, you were super kind. You opened up your laptop, you taught me the run. And then I joked, I'm like, oh, we should, like, you know, do a race of this at Speedrun Ragnarok, because it'd be really funny, and I don't think anyone's ever raced this game before in a marathon. And there you go. And here we are. And because of your generosity, you get more Loom than we usually do. So thank you all so much for all of your donations. We're super duper touched by how generous you all are.
Yes, everyone enjoy how sassy the main character, Bobbin Threadbare, is, and hope we will have a good race for you.
I love his sass so much. Anyway, so do we want to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I'll count us down then. So here we go. We're going to be starting in 3, 2, 1, go. So, welcome to Loom. I like to do this at the beginning of Loom runs. Chat, can you please wish Bobbin here a happy birthday? This game takes place on his birthday. And this is about as happy as his birthday is going to get. So we like to give him a little happy birthday before everything kind of goes south real fast. And do you want to talk a little bit about this game, Motoss, while we do our sort of opening walk here?
Oh, yeah. So if you haven't noticed yet, this is a point-and-click adventure game in the Scum engine that you may recognize from other LucasArts games of the time. Most famously, Secret of Monkey Island and Return to Monkey Island. It works a little bit differently, though. We're going to be using songs called drafts to affect reality, because Bobbin here is from a guild called the Guild of Weavers, who became so good at weaving they can actually weave the fabric, get it, of reality.
Ooh. And there's like a little intro at the beginning of the game saying that this is the age of the great guilds, where basically people are so good at arts and crafts that they now just defy all known laws of physics. But at the very beginning of the game, Bobbin has basically been called to the principal's office. And then in bursts his swan mom. Swan Mom turns everyone else into swans. And then we have Hetchel, his sort of adopted grandmother, who turns herself into an egg. We then open the egg. She reveals herself to be a cygnet now, a little baby swan. And she's basically sort of Bobbin's mentor throughout this game for a very, like, loose interpretation of the word mentor. She's basically has told us to go and seek the rest of the swans. And yeah, so you can see that we're running on 2 different skill levels. It doesn't affect the run at all. It's just personal preference. I like to run on standard, and Motoss likes to run on expert. And all it just does is it just changes the UI.
Yeah, when you're on expert, it doesn't have the music staff, which will play the notes. You can see them, but also I've never been sure if the difficulty level actually changes the songs that are possible. So I always just play on expert because I know what's going to happen. Actually, coming up, we're about to learn our first draft besides open, which the game teaches you in a cutscene, and basically basically, there's 4 sets of, at least in this version of the game, there's 4 possible versions of song lists that you can have. And once you know which notes you're going to need for the first 2 songs, you know which set you're in, so you don't have to actually remember. You can have them written down already.
Yeah, we did confirm, I remember because we did the testing, yeah, Draft List 4 is indeed also in standard mode. I don't know if it's in practice mode, but it is for sure in standard mode because I've run with Draft List 4 before. The draft list, it is chosen randomly at the start of the game, so this is actually 1 bit of RNG in this game. Everything else will be exactly the same every time we run it, which actually makes Loom to be pretty technically heavy. Basically, the only thing that stops you from getting a PB is you. And Motoss was, hello, previous world record holder.
Yeah, I used a route that was given by Enchantress of Numbers. And after that, I discovered a few other tricks, and then another runner named Non-Slim Jim discovered some more tricks and got even faster than me. So I'm still trying to work to beat that.
Yeah, Non-Slim Jim's run is pretty fantastic. It's sub 25 minutes, which is amazing for this game. Right, it is sub 25. Yes.
Yeah, on the Scum VM version, he's got a sub 25.
Okay, cool. There are 2 different versions of this game. There is EGA and VGA. We are playing on VGA mainly because it's the easiest one to get a hold of. I'm playing the Steam release of it.
And I'm on song set 2, so from now on I know exactly what notes are coming.
Yeah, I just have to scoot. I had to do like 2 things for just 1 second. Ooh, okay, cool. I just had to pull up my draft list where I could see it. Okay. And I am on song list 1. Which is good, because that's the song list I did my practice run on, so it's like perfect. And then we have to, hello, spinning wheel, spinning wheel.
I don't think I spun that right.
So the spinning wheel is our first example of reversing drafts. A lot of the drafts in this game are palindromes, so they're the same forwards and back.
Yeah, so you also just saw me make a mistake there. I tried to cast the reverse Strata Gold on the gold pile before I actually learned Strata Gold, and the game won't let you do that. If you haven't actually learned it yet in the game, Bobbin says like, "Oh, I didn't do it right."
Wait, I'm on a different draft list than I thought I was. Hello? Is it this? Wait, what? I have to listen to this.
Grass green. I hate that color.
Okay, there it is. Okay, I'm actually on 4. Oh, that's right, because 1 and 4 share the same. I got bit by my own notes about the game.
Yeah, so the ways you can lose time in this game are basically, if you cast any draft wrong, it costs you quite a bit of time. And there's also what we call backstepping, which is where you click somewhere and Bobbin doesn't think that he can go there, and instead he starts going a different direction. And those are the main time losses. So at least if we were going for PB attempts, both of us would have reset by now.
Yep, I mean, I totally would have reset. Then that was on me for not paying attention to the fact that I was on 1 or 4. Ah, well. I mean, I'm currently back with the dye pot. And always be sure, y'all, wait until you get your note before you leave the tent, or you can soft lock the game, as we have learned.
Yeah, if you walk out of that tent and you haven't learned your next note, you just never learn it, and you need it to get past the twister that I'm getting past right now. So That's how the game kind of gates progress and makes you learn things that you'll need later before letting you get to points of no return.
So yeah, so we're both. I've now left the island. Now that I am on the proper draft list. Okay.
So the Weavers aren't the only ones that can use drafts. You saw me backstepping there quite a bit. But in a cutscene there, basically Bobbin learned how to use the invisibility draft from those shepherds because they become visible, and that's how you kind of reverse engineer it.
But that's actually one of those cutscenes for draft learning that we don't actually have to watch. There are a few that we do have to watch all the way through, but there's some we are allowed to skip. But the game will still consider us as having learned that draft.
Yeah. So even though you don't have to watch that cutscene, if you don't do it before you come here, you can't actually cast it once again. If the game hasn't had you see something, then you can't actually use it.
Also, you'll see that we are skipping absolutely all the cutscenes that we can, except for the ones that y'all have graciously paid for. Hello. So I get Bobbin backstepping a lot.
Yeah, Bobbin's hard to herd. He's like a crazy cat.
Yeah, I always joke that he is absolutely just like this big gray tabby cat, and I'm just here, just sort of yelling at him. I'm walking over to the city of the glass blowers, and I tend to get him lost over here a lot. Hello, Bobbin.
Yeah, the sand dunes are a tricky part.
Our esteemed Bishop Mandible cuts quite a figure,
Oh, Sweepy, I know you probably can communicate to us in Twitch chat. Just so you know, whose audio we're using, just so I know. Or chat, you can tell us whose audio we're using.
I believe we're on Motoss's audio.
Cool beans.
Yeah, and what just happened was I learned terror from my future self. And we're gonna scare those mean old shepherds away who were bullying Bobbin.
That's okay. We not like we care about what happens to them later or anything.
Hey, I'm not gonna say they deserve what they get, but maybe they deserve what they get.
Why would the clerics want a scrying sphere?
Yeah, so like here's another example. These glass makers are actually so good at making glass objects that they can make weaponry and like scrying stones out of them. So it's not just the weavers who kind of defy physics. All the guilds have things about them in this world where they have become so good at things that they kind of do supernatural stuff with their abilities.
I think the teleporting, I think that might be the one that actually surprises me the most. Because, like, you know, there's a whole concept of glass, you know, balls or, you know, crystal balls. There you go. Or orbs, in this case. So here you go. Here's your Run's orb moment.
Yeah, for some reason, the bells in Gizamaluke's grotto in Final Fantasy IX always reminded me of this game instead.
Demi, I appreciate you updating the meme with sphere.
Also, we should note that all the interaction in this game, as far as movement, is clicking, targeting things is clicking. So a lot of times, if you click too much, you'll get extra dialogue that you don't want. But if you don't click enough, you won't actually target the thing you're trying to cast the spell on. Which is what you saw happen just now.
Also, Motoss, just because I tend to do this, since it is on your audio, please warn chat before the screaming.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so I'm about to learn the heal spell from a shepherd who's bad at using it. And then after that, you're going to have to get your Oz ready and maybe turn down your volume just a little bit.
Just a little bit. I like to warn people about the scream because it is much louder than a lot of the rest of the game. Of course, the rest of the game is very quiet because we're playing what's called the talkie version, and they had to take out pretty much all the music from this game in order to have enough room for all the dialogue instead.
Yeah, the original version of this game actually had a full soundtrack, but no voice acting whatsoever.
But then they recorded an absolutely wonderful audio drama that they released with the game, which I totally recommend going and listening to. It's about as long as this run. It adds so much information about the game that's sort of hinted at normally, and is really cool and sort of explains why Bobbin can do all the things that he can do.
Here we go, chat. Get your Oz ready. I'm about to dye these sheep.
Oh boy.
Well, what have we here? Oh, that's what comes of being in such a blazing hurry, I guess. I thought you looked a bit scrawny. Oh, why, you'd hardly make...
It might help to point.
I'm appreciating chat's reaction to the scream.
Isn't a draft.
Hello, game.
The dragon is like low-key the best voice in this whole game.
She's so good! I love the dragon so much.
I mean, who doesn't like dragons?
Dragons are awesome.
Yeah, this dragon is also afraid of fire, and you'll notice the terror spell can't be undone. Like you can't play it backwards because it's the same both ways. Some spells are like that. Like you can't unheal, you can't unterror.
Eek! Fire! You haven't heard the last of me!
And this is the Cave of Resets. This is where runs die.
Yeah, my trick for getting through it is to remember that the first cave you see, where you have like 2 doors, you go through the first door, and the second time you see 2 doors, you go through the second door. JDP, no, you do not want a mod of Untitled Gooskin that replaces the honk with that scream.
There are several exits in this cave that don't activate unless you click like the exact right area, or Bobbin will literally walk past the trigger rather than actually progressing to the next screen. It's very frustrating.
Also, if you see us sort of catching ourselves making a mistake on a draft, sometimes you can save it, other times it's best just to wait out. There's like a small sort of space where the game is expecting you to be typing out your drafts. After that passes, you can then sort of, once you see Bobbin lower his distaff, you then can cast a new draft. But yep, it's the cave. There's also more screaming inside the cave. Did you know it's always the same scream? It's always the same scream.
Guess I won't be going back that way.
That was what I just did. Was I skipped the cutscene that teaches you the reflect spell, which we're going to need here shortly. That's like the only trick for this game that I actually discovered.
You still discovered a trick, though. I'm still proud of you.
Yeah, because like I said before, like the roots of this route come from Enchantress of Numbers is like 2016 run of this game, and there are actually a few players playing this now, and we've managed to kind of get the time down due to that.
And we've had fun bringing it around to some different marathons recently, so that's been a lot of fun.
Remember that the dragon was mad at Bobbin. That's going to be important later. We're not going to see the cutscene where it happens, but Rusty here is about to look like me, so...
We're just going to put on our best Rusty cosplay. It's fine. He's going to put on his best Bobbin cosplay. I mean, you know, it's no one's fault that Bobbin makes, you know... Sorry, Rusty makes poor life choices like sleeping in graveyards. That's Rusty's own fault. There you go.
Yeah, and we haven't actually mentioned this yet, but there are optional drafts which are available in the game that you can do things in the game with them. We're just not using them because it's not fast. And one of those is the sleep draft, which you can reverse to wake Rusty up instead. But actually, it turns out if you just cast anything at him, he'll wake up because you're loud.
Also, apparently, Smapety is switching the audio so there is more screaming. Which is amazing. Thank you, Smapety.
This is what we call, I guess you would call it the worst screen in the game. Because right now coming up is the worst time loss you can get. And this screen right before it with all the pounding is just... where your adrenaline starts to get hopping, and there's no music, of course. It's just hammering.
But after we get through the most stressful part of the game, we actually going to take what is a break. Because we're going to watch all those cutscenes that y'all graciously donated for.
That's true.
And,
It's always good to take a break.
I realized, I'm like, why is this not working? Yeah, because I cast heal and not reflect. You cast heal on Rusty later. Also, Motoss, let me know when you enter the cathedral cutscenes so that way we can be quiet and let those play out.
I am in the Edgewise conversation now. He also low-key has one of the better voices in this game.
How's it coming there, Edgewise?
Edgewise for Smash.
Good to hear it. No slacking off now. Let's get it finished.
Bobbin scream for the harp music. Oh no.
No! You have to talk to Ward about that.
Marks the end of our preparations. How much longer must I wait?
The steel will ring out its final defeat, sir. Not much longer now.
Very good then.
Yeah, so if you missed this draft I just did, you have to listen to a whole nother conversation because it gets too loud to cast on it. But there we go. Now I'm entering the scenes you all paid for.
And we'll let y'all enjoy them.
What evil is this? A witch's curse has twisted the final blade.
A curse, Edgewise? I think not. It would take more than a mere witch's curse to ruin my plans. You there! Could it be that this little prank is of your doing? Yes? Well then, I would be honored to have you as my guest at the cathedral. I know some other curses that may amuse you.
I'm getting really tired of this.
Allow me to introduce myself. I am Bishop Mandible, trans-ultimate apostle of the anti-secular conclave of clerics.
I know. Am I expected to kneel?
Silence, you impudent punk!
This is my assistant, Cobb.
Charmed, I'm sure.
And you require no introduction. Your cloak and staff betray your origins. But I must say I'm surprised to find you here. It's been quite a long time since any weaver bothered to leave that dreary little rock you call home. Loom. So provincial. I can't help but wonder what impelled you to leave it now.
His Excellency asked you a question.
I know. I'm ignoring it.
Ah, recalcitrance. I see.
Shall I fetch the instruments of persuasion, Master?
Please forgive my assistant his eagerness. I fear Cobb is not very worldly. He does not understand the dangerous power of a weaver.
Dangerous? Your Reverence, him?
Quite dangerous indeed, my dear Cobb. In fact, he could burst this flimsy iron cage open with hardly a second thought.
That's impossible, most exalted one. I inspect the locks personally every fortnight.
Observe and learn then, for even now your prisoner plans his escape. You see, Cobb? An elusive breed, these weavers. Fortunately, however, they're quite helpless without their weaving sticks.
That distaff will never work for you.
Oh, no, my young friend, you're quite wrong about that. Come, let me show you why. Consider the common graveyard. There, the boundary between the living and the dead is indistinct.
Every graveyard's like that, so?
Now, imagine what might happen if this delicate boundary were to be somehow breached. Torn open, so to speak.
It's not that simple. You can't just rip the pattern apart like an old rag.
But it is that simple, my boy, and I can. I have only to lift this rod, and the legions of the dead will stream forth onto the plane of the living. A vast army of the dead, nourished by the shepherd's flocks, armed by the artisanship of the blacksmiths, guided by the glassmaker's sphere. All under the spiritual leadership of one supreme commander, me! The final hour is now at hand. The age of the clerics is upon us. I have preparations to attend to, Cobb. Don't let this boy out of your sight. He is to touch nothing. Do you understand me?
Perfectly, Your Excellence.
Lord Mandible, ruler of the universe. I do like the sound of it. I'll have to change my stationery.
You're not so dangerous now then, are you? Keep away from that. His Eminence said not to touch anything.
I wasn't gonna touch it. Just looking, Cobb, that's all.
Just looking, eh? Well then, perhaps we can do a bit of a trade. How about I let you look in the sphere
If what?
Well, the legends say that to gaze upon an uncloaked weaver brings death. Naturally, we clerics aren't given to such silly superstitions, but I'm curious. Let's answer this one once and for all, shall we?
May we have some quiet, please? I can't even begin to invoke the dead with all that screaming.
Well, he can't say he wasn't warned.
I see Cobb has been lax in his duty. No matter. You're just in time to witness the dawn of a new era.
You don't have the slightest idea of what you're doing. The pattern is already worn and frayed. If you rip a hole in it now, the consequences will be beyond anything you can imagine.
Spare me your weaver mysticism, boy. The time has come when the dead shall no longer envy the living.
You've torn the pattern completely open.
And with it, the eyes of the dead. Behold!
I have a very bad feeling about this.
Who dares disturb the peace of those who sleep?
I welcome and greet you, noble spirit. I am Bishop Mandible, trans-ultimate apostle of the anti-secular conclave of clerics. And whom have I the honor of summoning?
I don't think I want to be part of this conversation.
No one obeyed any summoning of yours, foolish mortal. I have summoned you. I am Chaos. You have merely opened the door, and I have passed through it. For this, you shall be rewarded. Join me now, as my slave.
Okay, so there we go. Actually, my favorite part about those cutscenes is that when other people cast drafts, it actually sounds different than when Bobbin does.
Mm-hmm. I think the other really cool thing is that Chaos has the same voice actress as Signa, Bobbin's mom.
Who unfortunately we will not get to hear speak at all on this game.
Sorry.
Nice. Do we have a moment for a very quick donation?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. We've got $20 from Newster, who says, "Thank you for putting on another awesome marathon put toward runner's choice."
Ooh.
Rusty?
Motoss, do you have a particular idea?
Oh no, whatever is the next goal is fine.
Yeah, next goal is fine. So that's, I believe, linked to the Link's Awakening 3 Hearts incentive, which, if you've never seen that challenge, is amazing.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, so spoilers, everybody. Rusty actually got killed because he looked like me, and the dragon found him and burned him to a crisp. But it's okay because the bishop opened the doors to the afterlife, and we just healed his body up and brought his soul back.
You know, everyone's had to solve their problems with necromancy at one time or another. It's fine.
I'm not going to help the shepherds, though. Sorry.
Bye, shepherds. Whatever. Maybe you should not have been jerks. Did you think about that?
Yeah, it turns out the game only makes you save Rusty. Everyone else you can just not. Like, that guy, we never even met him, so.
Whatever. I mean, can you meet him casually? I'm trying to remember. You must be able to meet him casually. I know you can listen in on the conversation.
Yeah, you basically have to get... It's not even the same guy who's talking to the bishop earlier. He's a separate guy who you can meet in, like, the rear... Like, a bunch of... There's, like, a whole bunch of unnecessary screens in the Glass City, like, to get you lost in. And he's back there in one of them. Yeah, and like Alex said in chat, this is actually a really fun game to run, and you can learn the route. I mean, really, with the guides we have and the tools we have, like Scala made, a way to see which draft list you're on, whether it's keyboard keys or music keys, because you can do it either way. And I mean, I learned the route with only playing the game for like 6 hours. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. What we're referring to is so you can either type out the notes themselves. So like, you know, like ECED for open, or you could use the QWERTY row at the top to basically follow the notes on the diff staff. I tend to go with QWERTY because that's how I learned it, and I find it easier to kind of go with just one row of keys I have to pay attention to.
And Bobbin actually learned how to disintegrate things from Chaos here, so I just disintegrate the Loom, and we're gonna ruin reality.
Bobbin, you did it! The Loom is...
And Chaos straight off is about to whiff with this scythe, so pretty good.
Leaving so soon, Weaver? I was looking forward to spending...
Is that a goose?
It's a swan, but for today it could be a goose. Hello. Honk.
Honk.
Bye, honk, mom. No, I mean, I guess Signa kind of is a bit of like she would kind of appreciate some of the things that the goose does.
Yeah, Signa is basically the troublemaker of the Weavers Guild, and she actually, her own child died, and she basically went against the natural order and pulled Bobbin out of the Loom itself, which is why she was exiled and turned into a swan in the first place. Yeah, and spoilers, this game was supposed to have 2 sequels that were never made, that were going to star characters other than Bobbin. I believe the main shepherd was going to be one, and also Rusty was going to be one. So
yeah, Rusty was going to be the star of Game 2, which was going to be Forge, which there was a fan attempt to make that game. And then the last one was going to be Fold, which was going to star Fleece.
Yeah, I really hope she got better at her heal draft in between the 2 games.
And I'm just about to end on my side. Time in this game is on the last note of transcendence, which is a wonderful sentence to say.
Yeah, it's weird. If you played this game when you're a child, for some reason, I played this when I was very young, and the Transcendence song, those 4 notes, have stuck in my head forever since I played this game. Even after years and years of not playing it, I still remembered that song.
IRTQ. If you're doing it in QWERTY. That's how I remember it. I tend to... I usually, if I'm just running it by myself, I tend to sing more of the drafts. But yes, we loomed! We had a really cool time. Thank you all. Like I said, sorry I was a little slow there, but that's okay. It meant that you got more screaming. Which is always fantastic.
Yes, thanks everybody for watching this race. It was a fun time, especially this is, I think, the first time we've been able to show it off at an event with all those extra cutscenes.
Yes, we always offer it as a donation incentive, and it's like, no, they're actually really cool and really fun. And I did, while we were doing all the cutscenes, I did hear Bahamut X, who pointed out, yeah, the audio on this game is actually amazing for the time. I was talking to my girlfriend about it. We're pretty sure this is one of the very first fully voiced games ever. And just the amount of work and love that went into this game is really, really amazing. But let us... I'm gonna... Oh wait, I don't know. Whose audio you're taking now, Smape D? Is it mine or Motoss's? Because you actually get to hear the music now. But I think we're pretty much all squared away. We have another amazing retro run coming up next. It's a little game that some of y'all might have been able to see at RPG Limit Break earlier this year. It's appeared a few more times beyond that. Yes, Loom was absolutely inspired by Newtopia. Of course, absolutely. Why would you even question that? But yes, we'll have some Newtopia up next. And we hope you all enjoy. And I'll be back around. So please continue watching Speedrun Ragnarok. And please continue donating and help us raise money for Take This. Thank you all so much.